What if your highest performance, your deepest peace, and your most alive life all come from the same place? In this episode of Beneath the Surface, we explore a truth that might just change the way you approach everything. Your greatest edge in life isn't about doing more or being better. It's about being unmistakably you. This is what I call the unobstructed way, a way of living and creating where your inner truth and outer expression are fully aligned. No performance, no pretending, just presence, power, clarity. When who you are on the inside matches how you show up in the world, everything flows differently. Let's dive in. Welcome to Beneath the Surface. I'm Sean Delaney. This series is a space where I bring you the ideas I'm sitting with most, the ones I can't let go of, the ones I return to again and again in my own life, and the ones that show up constantly in the conversations behind closed doors with high performers, creatives, leaders, and people who are on the path like you, not just to do more, but to feel more alive while doing it. Now, these episodes aren't about giving you another strategy or chasing another version of success. They're about going a level deeper, getting quiet enough to hear what's underneath the noise, and remembering what actually matters, and then how to feel more alive while doing it. So if you're looking for a place to slow down, think deeply, and reconnect to the part of you that most of the world forgets to speak to, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Let's go beneath the surface. You have your way. I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. Welcome back, and that was a quote from Nietzsche that I thought frames this episode just so well. And I want you to think for a minute as we begin here. Think about the people who have made the deepest and greatest impact in your life. Or think about the sports figures that have transcended errors, or the great artists, or the great leaders, or the friends and family members who've changed you. Was their lasting impact because they were the same? Because they were polished or perfect? Or was it because they were real? Because they weren't trying to be someone else, because they showed up with something unmistakably their own. We do not connect with sameness. We don't follow replicas. We're moved by people who are rooted in themselves, the one who feel true just by being. There's a presence they carry. There's a clarity, a grounded way of being that makes you stop and really feel something. You know it when you see it because authenticity has texture. It's not something someone says. It's something they are. And here's what I've come to realize. Every truly great performer, leader, athlete, or creator across every domain, it doesn't matter. They share one common trait. They are unobstructed in their self-expression. They're not pretending, they're not performing, they're not wondering if it's working. They've done the inner work to know who they are, and they bring that full self into everything they do. Think for a minute about some of the all-time greats, and if they tried to be someone else. Think about someone like Picasso. Imagine if he tried to paint like Da Vinci, or someone like Phil Jackson trying to be John Wooden. They're completely different. Or investing greats like Warren Buffett. Imagine if he tried to be a quant fund like Jim Simons. They would have tripped over their own feet because those styles go against their nature. You don't become great by copying someone else. You become great by clearing what's in the way of you. And in a world that's addicted to blueprints and strategies and endless comparison, I believe this message said by Naval Ravikant matters more now than ever. He said, escape competition through authenticity because no one can compete with you on being you. Escape competition through authenticity because no one can compete with you on being you. This episode is the beginning of that conversation. It's the beginning of discovering your unobstructed way. The unobstructed way is the path of living and creating from your core, where who you are on the inside is fully aligned with how you show up on the outside. It's what happens when you clear away the internal blocks, those blocks like self-doubt, fear, comparison, and you allow that natural energy, that insight and expression to move freely. This isn't about perfect performance. It's about removing what's in the way of your truth. The unobstructed way is where authenticity meets impact, where you don't just perform better, you live better because you're finally living as you. So let's get into this. I want you to imagine your full potential, like high pressure water moving through a hose. When you're aligned, when you're acting from truth, the water flows with full force. There's nothing in the way. There's no blocking. There's no obstruction. The signal is clear. That's what it feels like when you're in rhythm with yourself. Just flowing, full speed, nothing stopping you. But now imagine this. You start to question yourself. You hesitate. You compare. You try to perform instead of express. You shrink. You hold back your truth. Each of those moments creates a little kink in the hose. The pressure is still there. Your potential, your energy, it wants to move, but now it's blocked. This is what holds people back on the field, in the boardroom, in life. It's not that they're not talented. It's the signal is obstructed to releasing those talents, those capabilities, those potentialities. Most people don't fail because they lack capability. They fail because they're entangled in inner resistance. Like I said before, those are self-doubts, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, the need to please. This is the internal friction, and it is everywhere. When you're not expressing the core of who you are through your art, you create deep inner tension. It's like turning on the brakes. High performance doesn't just come from discipline or skill. It comes from alignment, that inner alignment with who you are and the outer expression of that truth in what you do. When you get this, you have harmony. This is Yo-Yo Ma on the cello. This is Da Vinci on a canvas. This is Bill Belichick and Tom Brady winning multiple Super Bowls. This is harmony. Now, when those two are synced, that energy, it is just freaking flowing. Think about it in your own life. That's when you're fluid, when you're adaptable, you're creative, right? You move with clarity. You feel more like yourself. You feel more like yourself. I hope you felt that line. Those moments that you felt truly like yourself. And I know everyone listening to this has felt that. They're just natural. They're unfolding in the moment. It's like they married the core of who they are with what they're doing. Now, this is the major disconnect. When your truth gets filtered through layers of performance or fear, that's when you start working against yourself. And your highest potential in any given moment can only emerge when you're operating in alignment with your natural self. Let me say that again. Your highest potential in any given moment can only emerge when you're operating in alignment with your natural self. You might be wondering why. Because any deviation from your authentic mode of being introduces internal friction. You know, it's what physicists or engineers are going to call resistance in a system. When you're suppressing your instincts, mimicking someone else's style, or if you have to constantly self-monitor for approval, you're redirecting cognitive and emotional energy away from the task at hand. Think about that. If you are mimicking someone else's style, you're constantly trying to monitor yourself for approval, you are directing all of your cognitive and emotional energy away from what you're doing. That diversion, I don't care if it's subtle, diminishes clarity, speed, and creative responsiveness. Now, from a systems perspective, performance is optimal when a system runs without internal contradiction. Human beings are no different. The moment you act out of alignment with your core disposition, your nervous system registers it. You often feel this as tension or hesitation right when you're swinging the golf club, or cognitive dissonance even. And tension, by definition, is energy that's locked up. It's unavailable for expression, for action, for insight. So if your goal is to perform, to create, or to lead at your highest capacity, the only sustainable path is to reduce resistance. Now, I'm sure some people are thinking right now, you need tension or stress to perform at your best. And you're not wrong to a point. There's a right kind of pressure that can sharpen you. It can bring focus, urgency, intensity. In physiology, we call it eustress, positive stress, that activates performance. But that's not the kind of tension I'm talking about. I'm not talking about external challenge. I'm talking about internal obstruction, the tension that comes from misalignment, from suppressing who you are, pretending, performing, pleasing. That kind of tension doesn't sharpen you. It scatters you. It creates noise. It leaks energy. It dulls your clarity. Healthy tension amplifies your signal. Internal conflict absolutely distorts it. So yes, tension can be part of growth, but only when you're growing from a place that's already aligned. Because stress doesn't create greatness, it reveals, but only when the signal underneath is clean. So here's the question for you. What's obstructing your signal? Where are you leaking energy, holding back, or masking your instincts? Because your full capacity is not something you reach in spite of who you are. It's something you access through who you are. Because performance is not just about capacity, it's about clarity. And clarity only comes when you are living and creating from the deepest part of who you are. That's the deeper truth of this episode. You don't just perform better when you're yourself, you live better. This is not just about results. This entire podcast is not about performance. It's about your relationship with life, because your deepest fulfillment and your highest contribution come from the same place, living from your truth that's unobstructed. That's the work, to find the friction points and to release them. Because when you do, oh man, that hose we were talking about, it becomes a fire hose. That is when everything changes. And when you want to know what that fire hose looks like in action, let's go back to some of the greats we were discussing before, right? The people like Da Vinci, Yo-Yo Ma, Jordan, Tom Brady, Buffett. Here's what they all have in common. They found their way and they trust it. Just like Nietzsche said, you have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. The best aren't trying to mimic someone. They aren't scanning the rooms they walk into for approval. They aren't burdened by the question, am I doing this right? It's almost like they got the case of the fuck it's, right? Just like, fuck it, I'm me, I'm going to be me, and I don't care. That's my truth. When you do that, that's when you feel someone's presence, right? All of the greats, their success came from refining their unique style, not conforming to someone else's. That is the shift. So are you developing your unique style? When you stop performing and start aligning, that's when all of that energy starts flowing freely. That's when you enter the zone. That's flow. That's freedom. And when I say living unobstructed, it's not about being loud. It's not about being perfect. It's just about being true. And the more you practice this, the more you show up as yourself, the more your life begins to feel like it's actually yours. Let that one settle for a second. Does your life actually feel like it's yours? Or do you feel like you're going through life half awake, maybe with a mask or wearing armor? When you feel that your life is actually yours, something really starts to click. And I'm not just talking about on the court or at work, but in your relationships, your creativity, your sense of inner peace, because your edge doesn't come from being better than anyone else. It comes from being more you than you've ever dared to be. And that's what the greats have figured out. They don't just train their craft. They trained their way of being. They found their rhythm, and now they move from it consistently. That's the invitation for all of us, the practice, the path forward. Now let's move in how this practice, this unfolding process and practice actually happens. Now, I don't want you just to think that these greats or anyone down this path wake up one day and feel like they are living in perfect alignment with their authentic nature. It's not instant. It's not linear. It is not clean either. There are ups and downs. You don't wake up one day and become fully expressed. You unfold into it. It takes years. It requires deep inner work. It's an evolutionary process of both adding and taking away. You know, in the beginning, it's normal to look outward. You try on different models, right? You're going to borrow the techniques. That's not wrong. That's a necessary part. That's how learning begins. You copy until you can create for yourself. You follow others until you start feeling what aligns and what doesn't. You know, you're going to copy, and then eventually you start to notice when something feels off, when a move, a voice, a goal, it doesn't feel like yours. You start to sense it. It's an internal knowing. That awareness is gold, because that's when subtraction begins. That's when you start letting go. You know, letting go of the methods that aren't yours, or the habits that might look great on paper but actually drain you. The masks, the mask we were talking about a few minutes ago, the ones you didn't even realize you were wearing. And over time, you start to get closer and closer to your truth when you feel in total alignment. It's a carving process. Just like Michelangelo said, he said, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. That's what this path feels like. It's the excavating away of what isn't you, carving deeper into your truth. And over time, you know who you are and what game you're playing, and you're free to give yourself fully to it, absolutely unobstructed. It's about bringing out the essence of who you are into what you do. And you need to know that essence is the rhythm of the dimensionless. You can't find your style in a spreadsheet. It can't be handed to you from someone else. It's one of the reasons we spend so much time talking about awareness and learning how to feel internally. Your style, your essence, it is a felt internal sense. Desjardins referred to as the incommunicable singularity that each of us possesses. Authenticity is the vibrant energy that surges through our being when we shed the layers of masks and pretenses. Your greatest asset in life is being who you are. In order to feel real, we need to bring that invisible world to expression. There's a line by the jazz artist Thelonious Monk I love. He said, "A genius is the one most like himself." Can you listen to your own inner sound? Can you trust your differences? Can you become so attuned to your essence that your life, your work, your presence is your signature? In Monk's view, genius is the full flowering of individuality. And perhaps the real tragedy in the world today is not that there are too few geniuses in the world, but too few people with the courage to be fully themselves. And we're going to touch on courage in a minute, believe me. But remember this, everything you need comes through being everything you are. Everything you need comes through being everything you are. That might be hard, but when you trust that, wow, your life becomes different. Makes me think of one of my favorite quotes of all time by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe in his play Faust. He says, "When you trust yourself, you will know how to live. When you trust yourself, you will know how to live." Everything you need comes through being everything you are. It makes me think of Oprah and how she thinks about this alignment and being most like yourself. And she describes it as authentic power. When your personality comes fully to serve the energy of its soul. And Oprah says, when my personality comes to fully align with the energy of my soul and I allow my soul to be the guide, that is when I am most powerful. That is when I am in what I now call my sweet spot. We were born to live in that sweet spot. We were born to live in that sweet spot. Every one of you has spent time in that sweet spot. You felt that indescribable groundedness of what it's like being there. You're most alive, you're most free, most giving the world of your unique gifts. It's like a tree that's growing its roots deeper to become more grounded. And because they're so grounded, what can they do? They can grow up taller to the sky. This is unshakable confidence to know who you are and be yourself in any room, no matter who's in it or what's going on. That is freedom. This authentic self-expression is your greatest portal to potential. It's what our good friend John O'Donohue is talking about when he wrote, "When you are in rhythm with yourself, you're untouchable." I want to live my life in rhythm with myself. I want to live from that sweet spot. And I hope you do too, because no one's way is your way. No one's soul is your soul. No one's personality is your personality. And if you're not living in the blend of your soul and your personality, the gift of you is not being given to the world. The gift of you. Have you ever considered that before? The gift of you. There's this line by the legendary dancer, Martha Graham. She said, "There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and it will be lost. The world will not have it." The universe has been conspiring for 13.8 billion years and has needed everything to go the exact way it has for you to come into this world. Let that hydrate your soul for a second. The universe has been conspiring for 13.8 billion years. And if there was anything different throughout history, you wouldn't be here. Think about how your parents had to meet. Then think about how your grandparents had to meet. Then think about your great-great-grandparents, and then keep going further back. And the further you go back, the more you realize that if any of those people never got together, if they took a different train, if they didn't say hello, you wouldn't be here. This is what Wolfgang von Goethe meant when he said, if God had wanted me otherwise, he would have created me otherwise. I'm not asking you to believe in God, but I am asking you to think about the incalculable number of things that needed to transpire in order for you to be here today, listening to these exact words, getting a chill down your spine, realizing this is your wake-up call. You are not only here just to exist. You are here and you have passions and you have interests and you have unique personality quirks. And the universe has been conspiring for 13.8 billion years, and you are going to deny that? You know, Maya Angelou said there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. You're going to face the agony of bearing an untold story inside of you. Or is this going to be the wake-up call? It makes me think of the palliative care nurse Bonnie Ware, who wrote the great book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Bonnie helped thousands of people on their deathbed transition to death, and she began collecting the greatest regrets they had. Do you want to know the number one regret of the dying? It is this: I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. So like we talked about in the beginning, when you do this, your greatest potentiality and possibility come out. But then like we just heard from Bonnie Ware, to avoid the greatest deathbed regret, you have to do this. You also have to remember what Oprah said. She said to allow her soul to be the guide, to allow, you need trust. To allow, you need courage. It's like the great C.S. Lewis line, courage, dear heart. Courage, dear heart. You must have the courage to bring out yourself fully in the moment. But remember, when you do this, a shift in your life's trajectory is nothing more than the courage in a single moment. It only takes one heartbeat of courage to set the infinite wheels of change in motion for you. Will you make it this moment? When you walk away from listening to this, are you going to choose the courageous path? You know, one of my favorite poets, David Whyte, he articulated this so well. He said, courage is the measure of our heartfelt participation with life. To be courageous is not necessarily to go anywhere or do anything, except to make conscious those things we already feel deeply, and then to live through the unending vulnerabilities of those consequences. Those vulnerabilities and those consequences are exactly what Joseph Campbell meant when he said, what will they think of me must be put aside for bliss. What will they think of me must be put aside for bliss. Your truth? That bliss? You must put away those fears, those doubts, those insecurities. To feel bliss, to feel alive, to avoid those deathbed regrets, those courageous choices must be made. The courageous path must be walked. We must enter the cave we fear to get the treasure that we seek. To go wrong in one's way is better than to go right in someone else's. That's what Dostoevsky said. Are you going to live this one singular life you have following someone else's path? Or are you going to follow the path that brings you alive? Once again, I'll bring Goethe in. He said, what has not burst from your own soul will never refresh you. So many people are sleepwalking through life, not bursting anything from their own soul. And because of that, they're never refreshed. There's no buoyancy. There's no lightness. There's no joy. There's no aliveness. This podcast is a return to that joy, a return to that aliveness. There is something so saddening about the pain of witnessing someone not living a life true to themselves. It's almost this unholy burden that is the most painful, like we weren't meant to experience it. Now, if you've ever spent time with someone who's experienced tremendous hardship or tragedy, a horrible act or a loss, they seem to be able to get through it. I don't say they ever get over it, but it's almost like our community comes together and helps people work through it. But when people deny themselves and then they confront that reality at the end of their lives, it's almost like there's nothing anyone can do to help them with that. So I'm begging you to find the courage, make the courageous choice to start walking your own path, the one that's guided by your own pulse, your own instincts, your own passions. You love what you love because that's what you love. And you have a choice to organize your life around those loves or not. Think about what Jeff Bezos said. He said one of the huge mistakes people make is that they try to force an interest on themselves. You don't choose your passions. Your passions choose you. I have spent my life tuning into what my heart whispers, and when it does, I listen and I follow that beating of my heart, and I invite you to do the same. You can either own your passions, your gifts, your style, and build your life around that, or you can deny them. And living a life that's a lie, that is a serious regret. And when you do this, you become a guide. It makes me think of what Fred Rogers from Mr. Rogers said. He said, as human beings, our job in life is to help people realize how rare and valuable each one of us really is. That each one of us has something that no one else has or ever will have, something inside that is unique to all time. It's our job to encourage each other to discover that uniqueness and to provide ways of developing it, its expression. That idea infuses how I try to live my life, helping and encouraging people to discover that uniqueness and then opening up their imagination on how it can express. Because Joseph Campbell said, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. The goal of life is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your nature with nature. Go back a few hundred years before Joseph Campbell. Do you know what Benjamin Franklin's prayer was? Wisdom that discovers my true interest. Wisdom that discovers my true interest. He's talking about the heart, and the heart doesn't lie, and only the brave ones listen. The brave ones like you. So you might be wondering, why is living this so hard? There are a number of factors: pressure, conditioning. You've got fears, you've got doubts, you've got poor models. There are so many variables from your past, but your past doesn't determine your future unless you let it. Think about that. Your past happened, but it doesn't have to determine your future unless you let it. I get it. 40 years of programming is hard. But like Tracy Spears wrote, you choose your hard. Marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. Choose your hard. Obesity is hard. Being fit is hard. Choose your hard. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your hard. What are you going to do? You're going to listen to the words of Jim Carrey? He said, you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. What are you going to choose? What hard are you going to choose? Are you going to perpetuate the negative story, or are you going to go a different direction? Are you going to change the narrative and change your future? Because the only inferiority in us is the one we put in ourselves. So are you going to use all the energy and possibility that is freaking bursting in the clay of your heart to be someone else, to wear a mask, to play a role? Or are you going to let your light burst through your freaking seams? You, being you, is your greatest gift. There's a great Hasidic tale that reveals this universal tendency to want to become someone else. And so Rabbi Suza, when he was an old man, said, in the coming world, they will not ask me, why were you not Moses? They will ask me, why were you not Suza? So how do we do this? How do we begin this process towards the unobstructed way? The unobstructed way, authentic self-expression, it doesn't mean you act like a jackass. It doesn't mean you don't think about other people. It doesn't give you an excuse to do whatever you want or be mean or arrogant or selfish. It means that you are living from a deeper place. And I found that when you live from this place, when you've gone deep enough to really listen to that essence, all of a sudden, compassion, empathy, joy begins to express itself, and it seems to arise more naturally out of you. It means you listen. You have to listen. You have to tune in. You start bringing awareness to what brings you alive. Those times where you feel like, oh yeah, this is me. This is what I'm all about, where I've lost track of time and I am so in the now, everything else falls away. The more you do this, the more you tune in, you bring awareness, the more it becomes a self-reinforcing, perpetual spiral up. You carve deeper grooves, deeper neural pathways, allowing you to embody your truth more often. And when you do this, all of a sudden the imagination comes online, right? Instead of looking through a very narrow scope about your life, which is really limited by doubts and fears, you open up your lens and you start seeing possibilities where before you only saw darkness. Man is so made, wrote La Fontaine, that when anything fires his soul, impossibilities vanish. Impossibilities begin to vanish when you walk this path because you're no longer blocking your hose, that vision, and your life is no longer guided by fears and doubts. So I know often on these beneath the surface episodes, we stay so much in mystery, but I wanted to make this a little clearer. So I put together a framework I often use called the Unobstructed Way. The Unobstructed Way is grounded in the art of knowing yourself, because knowing yourself is the beginning of everything. When you want to live and create from who you truly are on the inside, you need to know who you are. So to do this, this is the framework. It's 3 parts: essence, expression, environment. We'll begin with essence. Who you are at your core. Your essence is the blueprint you were born with. It's not something you earn. It's more something that you remember. Like Michelangelo carving away. It's your original signal, the truth of who you are beneath all the roles, the strategies, all of that external noise. When I'm saying this, I'm sure everyone gets that sense. Like, oh yeah, I've always felt this since as long as I can remember. That's me. So what you're trying to do is you're looking for those patterns that have followed you since childhood. What are the things that people constantly reflect back to you? What do you love doing even when no one's watching? What you want to do to uncover your essence is think about your emotional tone. Are you steady? Are you playful? Are you intense? What are your intuitive gifts? Do you see patterns? Are you energized by people? Do you tell stories? What's your natural tempo? Are you fast? Are you slow? These are the things you want to start uncovering. You want to develop your relationship with your essence. Now, once you've reconnected with your essence, and believe me, that takes work. It's a slow unfolding process. Your next step is bringing that essence into motion. Expression is how your inner truth shows up when you're acting in the world. This is your signature style. It's your way of leading, of creating, of speaking, of deciding, of podcasting. So what you want to do is you want to ask yourself some questions like this. How do I naturally build or decide or collaborate when I'm at my best? Do I prefer structure? Do I like spontaneity? Do I prefer solitude or a more collaboration? You want to think about your communication style, your creative flow, your decision-making process, your leadership instincts. What are they? And the more clearly you express your essence, the less friction you carry. You stop trying to be everything and you start being fully you. Now, once we've done that, we want to zoom out a bit. We want to find the environment that helps you thrive, because even the most amazing seeds can't bloom in the wrong soil. So are you planted in the wrong soil? You might know who you are. You might know what your best work is like, but none of that means much if your environment is constantly working against you. So you got to ask yourself, what type of spaces help me feel clear, alive, and energized? Do I like stimulation? Do I like stillness? Do I like working in a coffee shop, an open office? Do I need my door closed? Do I like chaos and pressure? Or do I like predictability and rhythm? Think about the physical setup. What's the lighting? What's the sound? What's it like in your office? Think about your calendar. Do you have back-to-back-to-backs? Or are you someone like me who likes slack and space? What culture do you like being in? Is it one that needs autonomy and trust? What is it? Innovation, competition? All of these things help you thrive. They are the soil you're being planted in. Now, I do not want you to think this framework is just about productivity. It's about creating the conditions that support your state of being, your energy, your rhythm, your clarity. This is the core idea of this framework. The more clearly you know your essence, the more fluently you express it, and the more intentionally you design your environment, the more unobstructed your life becomes. That, my friends, is the unobstructed way. The more you live from who you are, the more alive you become. Not because everything gets easier, but because everything starts to feel aligned and real and meaningful and yours. This path isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing what's in the way of who you've always been. You don't have to change everything today. Don't listen to this and think that. You don't have to know exactly how to live your unobstructed way. Begin where you're at. Begin by noticing. Notice the moments when you hesitate, when you edit, when you perform, and ask yourself during those moments, what would it feel like to show up here without the filter? That quiet awareness, that's the beginning of clarity. And clarity is the beginning of freedom. So take your time on this path, trust your way, and remember, no one can compete with you on being you. I'll leave you with one final quote in an episode packed with quotes by the philosopher Suzuki. He said, "I am an artist at living, and my work of art is my life." I'll see you on the next one. If this episode resonated with you, if it stirred something, opened something up, or even challenged something, I'd love to hear about it. You can connect with me directly at whatgotyouthere.com. That's where you'll find my writing, my books, more about my executive coaching work I do with the people who want to live and lead from a deeper place. And if this episode made you think of someone, a friend, a teammate, a partner, someone who's been in the grind and might need to hear this, send it to them. Because sometimes all it takes is a single conversation to shift the direction we're heading in. Again, it's whatgotyouthere.com. You can reach out, learn more, or just say hi. I always love hearing from people walking this path. Thanks for listening, and until next time.